Miles Dewey Davis III was born on May 26, 1926, in Alton, Illinois, to a black family of relative prosperity. His father, a successful dental surgeon, and his mother, a skilled pianist, raised him in East St. Louis. From the outside, the Davis household offered comfort and advantage, private education, horses, and music, but within, tensions brewed. His mother, Cleota, encouraged musical education but discouraged jazz, fearing its emotional wildness. Miles took up the trumpet under his father's guidance, but the instrument quickly became more than a hobby. It became a weapon of self-expression. By 13, Miles was studying with Elwood Buchanan, a taskmaster who insisted on clear tone and restraint. Buchanan urged him to reject vibrato, favoring precision over ornamentation. This would leave a lasting mark on his playing, teaching him the power of silence, the weight of a single held note. During his teenage years, Miles was already performing with local bands, earning enough attention that traveling musicians took notice. He jammed with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie when they visited St. Louis, sealing his obsession with the cutting edge of modern music. At 18, Miles enrolled at Juilliard in New York City, but his time there was short. The classroom could not contain his ambition, and the call of 52nd Street's smoky clubs proved too strong. He dropped out and dove headfirst into bebop's chaotic scene, chasing down Parker, his idol and eventual bandmate, with a kind of desperation. Performing alongside Parker was no gentle apprenticeship. Parker was unpredictable, brilliant, often drugged out of his mind. Miles idolized him and feared him in equal measure. The bebop movement was ruthless, fast tempos, complex harmonies, and musicians who showed no mercy to laggards. Miles, still green, sometimes struggled to keep up, but he watched, absorbed, and persisted. He made his first recordings as a band leader in 1947, but it wasn't until 1949's Birth of the Cool sessions that he truly began shaping a new path. These recordings, made with a nonet that included Jerry Mulligan and Gil Evans, traded bebop's fury for a smoother, more deliberate sound. The arrangements were moody, layered, and spacious, hinting at the direction Miles would explore in years to come. Though critically admired, Birth of the Cool didn't sell well. Davis struggled with heroin, chasing both a musical identity and chemical release. By the early 1950s, he was adrift. Sessions were erratic, gigs scarce, and relationships frayed. But he eventually kicked the habit, alone in his father's guest house, determined to return to the top. Clean and hungry again, Davis returned to recording with new fire. His muted trumpet became his calling card, close-mic'd, intimate, almost like a whisper. In 1955, he formed the first Great Quintet, featuring John Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones. Their recordings for Prestige, Relaxin', Cookin', Workin', and Steamin', captured a group that functioned like a single living being, moving through complex material with grace and fury. In 1957, Davis reunited with Gil Evans to record Miles Ahead, the first of several orchestral collaborations that would widen the scope of jazz. Together they crafted Porgy and Bess and Sketches of Spain, lush and cinematic works that challenged expectations. But the real explosion came in 1959 with Kind of Blue. Recorded in just 2 sessions, it was modal jazz stripped to its bones. No flashy solos, no harmonic clutter, just space, mood, and motion. The lineup: Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, Bill Evans, Paul Chambers, Jimmy Cobb, read like a hall of fame. Miles led with understatement, letting the music breathe. The result became one of the most acclaimed albums in history. Miles never lingered. As the 1960s arrived, his second great quintet emerged, this time with Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, and Tony Williams. They pushed boundaries, blurring form and dissonance with alarming ease. Albums like ESP, Miles Smiles, and Nefertiti teetered between structure and chaos. Davis allowed his bandmates room to experiment, often letting them lead while he circled from the outside, inserting sharp bursts of melody and sudden silences. Outside the studio, he battled racism, fought with club owners, and maintained a wary distance from the press. After a brutal police beating outside Birdland in 1959, he grew more guarded, more militant in his politics. He dressed sharply, tailored suits, designer sunglasses, and later, elaborate stage wear, but trusted few. His personal life was fractured. He married and divorced multiple times. Women came and went, some abused, others dismissed. He was possessive, jealous, and often cruel. His relationships with his children were uneven at best. The trumpet remained his closest companion. By the late 60s, rock music had overtaken jazz in popular consciousness. Instead of complaining, Davis listened. He absorbed Sly Stone, James Brown, Jimi Hendrix. He began altering his own sound, ditching old conventions, and embracing electric instruments. Some called it betrayal. He called it evolution. In 1969, In a Silent Way cracked the door open. Then came Bitches Brew. Here, Miles obliterated boundaries, melding jazz, rock, funk, and improvisation in sprawling, chaotic sessions. The album was divisive, but undeniably daring. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Younger audiences flocked to it. For a time, Davis played stadiums, sharing bills with the Grateful Dead and Santana. He surrounded himself with a rotating cast of daring young musicians: Chick Corea, John McLaughlin, Joe Zawinul, Keith Jarrett. Every session was a high-wire act. There were no charts, few rehearsals. Musicians were expected to listen, react, and commit. Fast. Albums like On the Corner, Jack Johnson, and Agartha pushed this experiment further. Davis became almost theatrical in performance, often turning his back to the audience. Critics scorned his new direction. He shrugged them off. Yet by 1975, the toll of drugs, pain, and relentless change caught up with him. He vanished from public life, holed up in his apartment, wrestling with cocaine, alcohol, and chronic pain from hip injuries and ulcers. From 1975 to 1980, Miles Davis vanished. Friends couldn't reach him. Industry figures stopped calling. Rumors spread. He was dying. He had lost his chops. He was gone for good. Inside his New York brownstone, he brooded. He sketched, painted, and watched hours of television. He tried to play, then stopped. He lashed out at those who tried to intervene. Yet something inside him stirred. Eventually, after years in the shadows, he began to play again. The comeback began quietly, then roared. In 1981, he returned with The Man with the Horn, and though the critics remained divided, his fans cheered. He formed a new band, this time with Marcus Miller, Mike Stern, and later, Kenny Garrett. The music was slicker, more polished, but Miles still challenged conventions. He covered Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time, played Michael Jackson's Human Nature, and reached new audiences. Some fans of traditional jazz recoiled. Miles never looked back. In his final decade, Davis toured relentlessly, released records on Warner Brothers, and appeared in films and television specials. He collaborated with Prince, appeared in Scrooged, and published an autobiography that laid bare his demons. He spoke honestly about addiction, violence, and loneliness. He had made enemies, burned bridges, and alienated some of the people who loved him most. But he also reflected on his past with surprising clarity. He regretted little, apologized for nothing, and insisted he had always done what he felt was right. In 1991, as his health declined, he performed at the Montreux Jazz Festival in a rare reunion with Gil Evans arrangements. It was an uneasy experience. Nostalgia was not something he usually indulged, but it closed a chapter. That September, Davis entered a hospital in Santa Monica for routine care. He suffered a stroke and went into a coma. After life support was removed, He died on September 28, 1991, at age 65. Miles Davis left behind a discography that continues to challenge, inspire, and divide. He shaped multiple waves of music: cool jazz, hard bop, modal jazz, electric fusion. But his most telling feature wasn't any one genre. It was his refusal to settle. His legacy doesn't reside in sales figures or awards, though there were many. It lies in the spaces he left between notes, the tension he created by waiting an extra beat, the unpredictability of each album, and the defiance in every decision. Musicians across genres, from hip-hop to classical, refer to him not just as a great player, but as a force that forced others to stretch. He believed that change wasn't optional, it was survival. That belief came at a cost. Personal relationships often fractured. Bands formed and fell apart. Audiences followed, then recoiled, then returned. Through it all, Miles Davis kept moving. He never asked for approval. And perhaps that's why he remains a symbol of musical courage. Not because he got everything right, but because he refused to repeat himself.